It's great to be here. I think everyone who's paying attention to politics knows that there's a problem of money in politics. We don't need to know that there's 158 families that give half the money to the presidential campaign to know that there's a problem of money in politics. We don't need to know that the race this year will cost over $7 billion across the country. We don't need to know that less than 0.1% give 80% of the money in politics to know that there's a problem. We just need to look, and I'm glad that Wade Henderson brought it up earlier today, we need to look to cities like Flint. It would not have happened. What's happening in Flint now would not have happened in a community that's affluent. We know that the problem of money in politics is about the haves and the have-nots, and the have-nots are being left out because elected officials don't have to pay attention to everyone. Unfortunately, the conversation about money in politics is only about that. It's not about solutions. It's not about regular people. We don't see ourselves in the story of $7 billion. We don't see ourselves in the story of 158 families giving 50% of the money in politics. We need to change the story about money in politics away from corruption towards participation, towards a story that says every single person in this room, every single person in our democracy matters. Every single person who... So we want to change the story about money in politics by getting the candidates to talk about the solutions to the issue. We're working on a Fight Big Money agenda with national organizations to force the issue into the presidential election based on these principles. Everyone participates, everyone's voices are heard, everyone knows who's trying to influence elections, everyone should be playing by the same common sense rules, and everyone is held accountable when they break the law. Very simple. What's exciting is that we know that all the three Democratic candidates, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, and Martin O'Malley, have already endorsed this platform and already have solutions that match up. They've put forth policies that match these principles. What we don't hear, though, is them talking about it. We need to, if we're going to change the conversation about money in politics in the country away from the concentration of wealth towards the fact that we know that there are working solutions in Maine and in Seattle and lots of other places around the country, we need the candidates to actually be on our side saying we have a different story about money politics that said everyone should count in our political system, and we need to say that that's what they're going to fight for. So I encourage you all, when you talk to candidates, when you have an opportunity to press them, ask them what they're going to do. Not just another diagnosis of the problem that makes us more cynical, but what are they actually going to do to fix it? Please hold them accountable with us. You can go to our website, everyvoice.org/fightbigmoney. Where's Hugh Espy? Hugh. He went away. He'd repeat after me, fight big money. Can everyone else? All right. Fight big money. Fight big money. All right. Thank you very much.
Next up today will be Liz Ryan Murray, Dynamite Organizer for National People's Action.
Thanks, Sheree. I got a couple questions for you. First one is, who here thinks it is okay to charge people who are already on the ropes financially 300% interest on a loan? Anyway, who thinks it's right to be trapping those same families in debt for months on end for what was supposed to be a 2-week loan? It's not right. And car title, payday, and installment lenders are stripping billions of dollars from our families' pockets and out of our communities every year. But I am here with some good news. We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity in front of us to reform the worst practices of this predatory industry. We've got rules coming out from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB. Folks in this room and across the country fought for the creation of the CFPB. It's a regulator whose job it is to look out for our bottom line, not the bottom line of the bottom feeders. But, like always, it's up to us to make sure that the job gets done and the job gets done right. In the next month or so, CFPB is going to put out for public comment a rule that has the potential to stop cold the worst abuses of this industry and say, yeah. This rule can say loud and clear that taking advantage of people is not just another business model, it's against the law. But does anybody here think this industry that makes $8 billion off of us a year is going to go down without a fight? No. They're going to fight tooth and nail to keep their ability to rip people off. We have to fight harder. If we're going to get a strong rule that protects families, we're going to need the CFPB to hear from every single person in this room. All of your friends, your family, your congregations, your coworkers. I want you talking to people on the bus. We need a strong rule. We need real reform. It is what we have to have. Right? Yeah. Right. So we need the CFPB to get a move on. We've been waiting too long for this rule. Right now, go to our website. There's a flyer in some of your folders about it. It's got the website on it, npa-us.org. Sign the petition that's up there on the front page. It says, CFPB, do it now. Do it strong, do it now. And that'll give us the way to get in touch with you, so when they open this rule and say, industry, what do you think about it? Families, what do you think about it? They hear from families about what they think about it. Let's show them that real people power is stronger than the sharks. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Up next, I'm going to introduce to you Dewan, who is going to be introducing a group of folks who held a regional convening here yesterday. Dewan.
We're looking for Wantana. All right. Well, yesterday we had 40 executive directors and people that are in leadership from across the Midwest come together for a convening of Black leadership in the Midwest. It was a very purposeful and powerful convening where we all came up with a number of different issues that we're all facing that are interrelated. And so we are going to be speaking to you a little bit about what we experienced yesterday and some of the issues that you all need to be supporting.
Good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Thompson. I'm the Executive Director of Good Jobs Now, and this is my colleague, Daniel Atkinson, of Mothering Justice, and we're from Detroit. Give some love for Detroit. Families across the Midwest are struggling. Ask any of our neighbors in Detroit or Flint. Speaking of Flint, we're talking about an entire community that has literally been poisoned to save a few dollars. That ain't right. And so we're here because our communities have seen significant divestment, and it's resulted in staggering rates of unemployment, poverty, the highest infant mortality rates in the country, and that ain't right.
Hey y'all, so my name is So the reason I'm here today is because 40 Black organizations from across the Midwest, Ohio, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, got together last night. And what we did is we decided that we are tired and we are sick. We are no longer going to sit here and be ignored. We know that the 10 worst cities for African Americans are all in the Midwest. We know far too often the Midwest is considered flyover country. We are no longer going to accept that. So we've decided that we're going to be coming together, we're going to be fighting for our issues together, and we're going to make sure that these disparities are addressed. Let y'all know that we are standing with you. We are standing with Iowa. We are standing for the farmers that are getting their land taken. We are standing with the people with tainted water. We are standing together to demand that the Midwest get the respect it deserves and that we fairly address these disparities and we create an America that serves all.
Hello, y'all. My name is Corey Mason. I'm the co-founder of Fearless Leading by the Youth, a grassroots community organization. We are a Chicago-based organization, as well as being responsible for getting a level 1 trauma center inside the University of Chicago after 30 years of systematic deprivation. As a young Moorish man from the south side of Chicago, I and many other Chicagoans are experiencing the corruption that is a part of the culture of Chicago's government that we experience on a daily basis. This corruption is a part of a legacy of state-sanctioned violence that is manifested physically via police violence. For example, the John Berg's torture cases, and also the police concealment of homicides. This culture of corruption affects us physically through economic violence, which leads to so many of our black and brown brothers and sisters packed in juvenile temporary detention centers and prisons all over the Midwest. That's not right. Now, when this is coupled with our high homicide rates, Chicago has officially been named Chirac. These issues of culture of corruption is not exemplified only in Chicago, but this is exemplified in all of our states in the Midwest as well. This is why the entire nation is looking towards the Midwest for examples of successful leadership and activism and community organizing. That is why I am more than glad to hand this brother from Wichita, Kansas, the mic right now.
My name is Dewan Wash, as you all know. I'm a director from Sunflower Community Action out of Wichita, Kansas. Now, Kansas is often looked at as a flyover state. I'm here to tell you today that we are not. The epidemic of state-sanctioned violence has reached the very heart of our nation. If you look at the numbers per capita, officer-involved shootings that result in a death exceed that of Detroit, Chicago, and New York. It's an epidemic. Each of you have an obligation to work with us to counteract and to stop state-sanctioned violence and the murder of Black and Latino people in America today.
Woo. Right, people are rising up with you. Hi everyone, my name is Candace Montgomery. I'm here with BLM Minneapolis, one of the, thank you y'all. One of the many folks who really hold down our chapter and were key in the recent occupation and the continued work coming out of that. What I really just want to talk about is a call to action and calling all of you to really step up and support and follow the leadership of Black folks, especially young Black women, Black trans folks, and Black queer people, right? For too long, even within our own movement, we've been talking about injustice and economic injustice without really getting into the ways that these evil things intersect and interact, right? And so what we're calling on folks today is to talk about economic justice while also talking about racial justice and gender justice. Bring out that full and complete narrative, right? Because just like rural communities in Iowa, Black communities are getting their resources extracted strategically as well, right? We are in the same boat. And when we say Black Lives Matter, we're saying that because we know that these systems were built on and tested on the backs of Black folks, right? And so when we're able to lift up those systems, break down those systems, we all get to get free. So when your friends at the local bar or your family member at Thanksgiving are complaining because those young Black people shut down an airport or a mall or a highway, step up and stand up for us. Defend us. Remind them the reason why we're doing it, because every 23 hours, we have to worry about losing another one of our family members, right? And beyond that, every single hour, every single second, we know that Black folks across the country, and especially in the Midwest, are not getting the food they need, the health care they need, the housing they need, the clean water that they need. And that's why we're standing up and saying Black Lives Matter, and we're calling all of you, whatever space you are in, your organization, to demand racial justice and to demand that Black Lives Matter in all of the spaces that you rock into, okay? Can y'all do that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Person, I want to ask you one more time, everybody scoot in, shoulder to shoulder. We're going to have more people filtering in. We're going to be at total capacity. So scoot in towards the center, please. Don't leave open spaces so we can let people filter in on the outside aisles. This is a great crowd. Okay, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Mike Griffin. So let's get some chants going.
Hey! What's up, Iowa? You guys seem a little fired up here. Yeah. Last time I was in Iowa was January of 2008, working for then candidate Barack Obama, door knocking. A chant that we did back in 2008, I'm gonna try to see how we can be fired up right now. I say fired up, you say ready to go. Fired up? Fired up? I said fired up? Fired up? Fired up? Fired up? Fired up! All right, folks. And back in 2008, I was trying to change the world. I am still trying to change the world as a field director with a group called Neighborhoods Organizing for Change up in Minneapolis. And a chant that we do in Minneapolis, I'm gonna try in this church today. I say, who are you? You scream out, powerful people. I'm gonna say, who's ready to change the world? You scream out, we will. Who are you, powerful people? Who's ready to change the world? We will. Who are you? Who's ready to change the world? I said, who are you, folks? Who's willing to change the world? Who are you? Who's willing to change the world? I'm Mike Griffin one more time with a group called Neighborhoods Organizing for Change. One of the big campaigns that we had was called Workers' Rights, where we were fighting for everybody to go from a minimum wage to a living wage. And that living wage, we think, is $15 an hour. 15 now, 15 now, 15 now, 15 now, 15 now. Who are you? Who wants to fight to change the world? I said, who are you, folks? Who wants to fight to change the world? Who are you? Who wants to fight to change the world? All right, we're gonna try something. Follow some instructions here. I feel like this crowd is hyped. You guys are fired up. The people united will never be defeated. The bottom floor here, I'm gonna ask you to join me with the people united, and I want the balcony on the top of your lungs to scream out, "We'll never be defeated." I'm gonna ask you to stand up. On your feet. On your feet. Bottom row, we're gonna get louder and louder. The people united will never be defeated. 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 Who here's fired up to see Senator Sanders? Who's here fired up to see Governor O'Malley? Powerful people. That spirit that was inside of me in 2008 still reigns strong here in 2016. I'm gonna ask you, who are ya? Who wants to fight to change the world? Who are ya? Who wants to fight to change the world? Who are ya? Who wants to fight to change the world? I will see you in 10 minutes, folks.
Well, we're not done yet, folks. Next, Michael McDowell with a little spoken word.
Hello, hello, hello. How are y'all doing? So, I'm also an organizer with Black Lives Matter Minneapolis, and I just wanted to grace you all with the speech. And how many workers do we have in the room? I figured that. Okay, so this is a piece that I wrote. It's called A Letter to the Worker, and I hope you enjoy it. The worker breaking their back for the breadcrumbs this land calls wages. The homeless family working full-time, wondering if a job won't, then what will help our situation. The single mother who desperately needs those hours because she's behind on payments and the rent just ain't waiting. Workers working for a promise that if they work hard, they'll eventually see the fruits of their labor. Workers working for the hope that one day time, family, and opportunity will be things they too can savor. Working for a land that has made your struggle and humanity invisible. Working to show this land, trying to get it to understand that through your sweat, your blood, the countless hours worked and endured is your love made visible. You're forced to work, but if you're black, trans, or of color, the businesses never hire you. Then when you get the job, for the very same reason, they neglect and or fire you. Don't let you be undocumented or have a record, because then the bosses really act a fool. No benefits, no sick days, no pay stubs, and we'll steal wages from them too. But don't forget not to set a schedule so we control their lives in every single thing they do. So you're stuck in this trap, and that's exactly where the system wants you. Deal with these jobs and exploitative spaces that are systematically and inherently racist, all for some petty wages. Just so you and your family can keep your hands above water. So you can keep all the hopes and dreams you hold so dear afloat. I'm with you in the struggle. And the worker breaking their backs for the breadcrumbs this land calls wages. The homeless family working full-time, wondering if a job won't, then what will help our situation. The single mother who desperately needs those hours because she's behind on payments and the rent just ain't waiting. Workers working for a promise that if they work hard, they'll eventually see the fruits of their labor. Workers working for the hope that one day time, family, and opportunity will be things they too can savor. Working for a land that has made your humanity invisible. Working to show this land, trying to get it to understand that through your sweat, your blood, the countless hours worked and endured is your love made visible. Was forced to be slaves, now you're forced to wait to slave for a wage. CEOs running workplaces like plantations because ain't a dang thing changed. Because there's still only one option. It's to wear your body out while stressed out with no time to go about the essential things that a human being needs to continue functioning in a country that don't respect you, your blood, or your sweat. That is plastered everywhere that we stand, walk, and sit. Plastered all over this very building, because guess what? Workers built it. This is my letter to the worker to say that no one is coming to save you but you. You hold the key to your own liberation. That's why the bosses have held you down, because they know what Workers United can do. You were forced to build this future. But while you were doing so, you were seeing a generation that white supremacy in this country has tried so hard to make invisible. You've slaved. You've broken your bodies for family, for a dream, and you have and continue through your love, through your work, to make your love visible. Thank you.
Okay, we've got one more. This afternoon, our closer is going to be Rasheen Aldridge, who is on the leadership team from some of you folks know him. Rasheen from Missouri Jobs and Justice, and he's an organizer with Fight for 15. Rasheen.
So that wasn't part of the plan, but thank you to my Show Me 15 family out there. Before I actually start, I was going to start with a chant. It just wasn't that one. But no, I want to start with a chant. I want to actually start with a special chant. It's really special to the people in Ferguson. It's really special to the people who've been stepping up this last year in the Black Lives Matter movement. It's really special to almost anyone who didn't really stepped up against police violence. If you know the chant, you can say it with me. If you don't know it, still say it with me. Just repeat after me. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and support one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Now we need to blow the roof off this church. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and support one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. We have nothing to lose but our chains. We have nothing to lose but our chains. My name's Rasheen Aldridge. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. Give you a little background about me. I was born in the city, North St. Louis City, but I actually went to school in West County. I would go to school in the county, and at an early age, something felt real funny. It just didn't feel right. I would go to school in the county, and it would feel different from the city. When I would be in the county, I almost felt free. But when I would go back home to my own community, I felt like I was encaged. When I would go out to the county, plenty of opportunities. Not so much in my own community. That ain't right. When I would go to school to the county, you could walk down the street and not in my own community and not get harassed by the police. But when I stepped foot in my community, You getting pulled over and asked where you going when you just going to the only park that's in the neighborhood, and it's only one. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand why in this community it seemed to be a lot of opportunities. Why in this community, literally the trees look nicer, the grass looks greener, the buildings, everything. But when I would go back to Northside St. Louis, where was the grass? A lot of concrete. Wasn't too many trees, and like I say, there was only one park in our neighborhood. Around 10th grade, I ended up getting a fast food job at ba-da-ba-ba-ba, not loving it. Thought I was gonna say loving it, no. I ended up getting a fast food job in 10th grade to help my mom. I seen she was struggling. She had 2 jobs, and still with 2 jobs, she couldn't make ends meet. Still with 2 jobs, sometimes we didn't have gas. Still with 2 jobs, sometimes we didn't have electricity. Still with 2 jobs, we didn't always have food on the table. So I made it my duty to go work to help her, just to get the essential things like toilet paper, detergent, to help her so to relieve a little bit of that stress off her, to make it easier for her. After high school, I graduated, right? And I tried to do all the right things. I was still staying home with mom, but graduated from Parkway. I ended up going to a community college, was still working at McDonald's, and was trying to move out, trying to get my own place, trying to be a responsible adult. But the reality was, it wasn't that easy. Trying to go to school and work 40 hours when they give it to you, it was hard. Busting my butt day in and day out for a company called Jimmy John's that wants you to be freaky fast. Ding dong, Jimmy John's. They're outside. And it didn't seem like it was cutting off. Working so hard that the prosthetic leg that I have on my right side broke. Not in one spot, but 2 spots. So if I was to take it off, or this leg, you would see tape right here, and you would see tape right here holding the leg up. As I tried to continue to, like I say, move forward, I got involved with Show Me 15, Fight for 15, an organization that started in New York City with fast food workers that stepped up and said enough is enough. Because the reality is, a lot of low-wage workers, they don't make nothing. The reality is, a lot of low-wage workers don't look like me. It's not little kids just trying to get a job so they can go to the mall. The reality is, there's a lot of women in these jobs, trying to take care of a family. The reality is, the median income in these jobs are people that's 35 and up. In 2008, what happened? A recession, right? So all the factory and all these good jobs went away. McDonald's and Burger King and Jimmy John's, they stayed. So as I got involved with Show Me 15, I started organizing. I started going out on strike with my other workers to let people know this is enough. We can't not survive on $7.35. That was the minimum wage in Missouri. I continued to organize in my shop. I continued to get more involved. Later down the line, as years passed, I became a leader, as they say. 2014 ended up happening, though. August 9th. Mike Brown was murdered at the hands of the Ferguson Police Department. A scene that when I first seen it on my cell phone, it really was just a normal thing. Because for that situation to people like me and a lot of African Americans, honestly, it wasn't nothing new. We done seen it on Fox News plenty of times of seeing African Americans being gunned down at the hands of police and nothing done. We done seen it, we done had the conversations with our parents when you drive down Lucas and Hunt, 10 and 2 because the police are definitely gonna pull you over. But the thing is, police brutality is an issue, but it's a little bit deeper than that. In zip code 63106, Northside St. Louis, Missouri, where I stay, the median income in that zip code is $15,000. The percentage of African Americans in that zip code is about 95. 10 miles away and zip code 63105, Clayton, Missouri. 85% white, medium income 90,000. The life expectancy in my zip code 63106, 65. The life expectancy in zip code 63105, which is only 10 miles away, 87. That is the problem that a lot of communities are continuing to face on a day-to-day basis. Opportunities are being pulled from our communities. Money is not being invested in our communities. They continue to put low-wage jobs in our communities, and then they wonder why crime is so high. But I'm excited to be here today because we have the opportunity to talk real issues. And I'm not just talking about this or that, I'm talking real issues. It's people that don't know when their next meal is gonna come, that are in this room. It's people that are working 2 or 3 jobs just trying to support their family while they're away from their kids. We got the opportunity right now to talk to potential presidents, to have real conversations, to talk real issues, to talk real change that we need in our community. At the beginning, I started with a chant. I said, it's our duty to fight for our freedom. We have the opportunity to let them know, but at the same time, like my Black Lives Matter activist brothers and sisters said, we also have our duty to do something. We must stay active. We must get involved. We must keep challenging the status quo. We must stay in the streets day in and day out. And we must also run for office. Because the reality is, if we don't put ourselves in there, they ain't gonna know how to really represent us. So like my brothers and sisters said, I challenge you all today. Let's not just feel good and fired up and we be ready to go in this moment. Let's go back home to St. Louis, to Chicago, to Kansas, to Milwaukee. Let's take to the streets. Let's get active. And let's push our people to register to vote. And let's also be in those offices so we can make that change. Thank you. And next, don't stop the round of applause just yet. I love y'all too. And next, I would like to invite up Pastor Stevie Wakes. He is a pastor from Olivet Institutional Baptist Church in Kansas City. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you. Let us pray. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far on our way, Thou who hast by Thy might led us unto the light, keep us forever in Thy paths, we pray. Dear God, we thank You for the organizers and the host of this historical event. We pray, oh God, that You will be with us, enable our gathering to be the impetus of change that will bring healing and hope to our great nation. Amen. Bartimaeus, a disabled man in the Christian biblical text, became a problem for his friends one day. He was a problem for his friends not because he was blind, but because on this particular day, Bartimaeus would not stop crying out the same phrase over and over again. His friends tried to get him to be quiet, but the more that they tried, the more louder Bartimaeus became. You see, Bartimaeus could hear that a man named Jesus, who had the reputation of healing others, was passing his way. And Bartimaeus would not be silenced. He would not be silent because now he has the opportunity to let his voice be heard by the one who has the power to heal him of his blindness. So Bartimaeus cries out, "Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me." And so we come. We come here today because we come from all across this nation, because we, like Bartimaeus, refuse to be silenced by others. We too want healing. Healing for a disabled nation, blind to the greedy corporate CEOs and greedy business owners who deprive the majority of their workers of the basic benefits of health care and affordable child care and a living wage to not only survive but to thrive. We want healing. Healing for a disabled nation, blind to our communities that are shaken by the sounds of gunfire and the multiple episodes of death in the war zones on the civilian shores of our communities. We want healing. Healing for a disabled nation that is blind to a criminal justice system determined to solve our crime problem by placing people behind bars that seem to never open in the name of justice. And when those incarceration bars do open, the apparent lack of forgiveness is seen in the lack of opportunity, and our returning citizens are sucked back into the penal system for what seems like a life sentence. Now, where is the justice in that? We want healing. Healing for a disabled nation blind to our seniors and veterans who have worked all of their lives to create a society of convenience, prosperity, and freedom for us, and then are tossed aside and made to live a life that reeks of gross ingratitude. We want healing. Healing for a disabled nation blind to the racial and economic disparities that negatively affect communities of color, where there is an abundance of poverty-stricken, low-income housing projects and high-rises, as well as widespread divestment that is apparent in the abandoned houses, closed businesses, and vacant lots, from which the economically capable neighbors and businesses flee to escape the more affluent neighborhoods. Some call it white flight. I call it green flight, but it means the same thing. Where is the hope to ever rise from the cesspool of concentrated poverty? Where is the hope to ever be able to live a life outside of poverty? Well, I wish I could say unequivocally that hope can be found in our public education system. But many of the kids in my neighborhood already start school at a deficit. So if you ask me where is the hope, I think we would say hope is still in the faith of those of us who, like blind Bartimaeus, still cry out, because there is no dignity in being labeled a beggar or being deprived of healing when we know that our opportunity for healing is passing us by. There is no dignity in having a voice when no one will hear it, nor in having friends and foes who constantly attempt to silence our voice. We cry out in faith because we know that there is a God who hears our cries, and we know that our healing is imminent. We also know that we might have to wait until some more sensible candidates are elected to office. Well, we have waited far too long. And we really don't want to wait until Congress passes legislation on Capitol Hill, or wait until the president signs an executive order, or wait until the Supreme Court determines the legality or constitutionality of our request. We want and we need healing right now. So we continue to cry out until elected officials make decisions that match the faith values that we stand for. And those values include good jobs with good pay and good benefits, a retirement that we all can enjoy, adequate time to spend with family, and we need to spend that time when they need us, quality and affordable health care, child care, and elder care, affordable housing and neighborhoods with decent grocery stores that sell fresh fruit and vegetables, and there is access to non-predatory credit and less fast food restaurants and liquor stores. We cry out for safe streets where law enforcement officers can be trusted, gun violence is obliterated, and drug houses become obsolete. We cry out for a legal justice system that is more creative and rehabilitative than punitive, and one that leaves more money for education than incarceration. We are here because we believe that the God of our faith does hear us and can and will bring healing to our nation by touching the hearts of those who hear us and are motivated to respond to our cries like Jesus responded to the cries of Bartimaeus. And then act to bring an end to our cries and begin a rise up of a united following by our entire nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. That was really inspiring. And I'd like to welcome everyone here to the family's first Iowa Presidential Forum. This event is brought to you by Iowa ICCI Action Fund and Center for Community Change Action. My name is Barb Kaba. I'm board chair of Iowa ICCI Action and a fourth-generation family farmer from Dexter, Iowa. I've been an activist, like many people in here, since 2002, when a man came from 60 miles away to put 7,200 sows by my house. That ain't right. So my community came together, people from across 2 counties, several small towns. We worked together, we fought back, and we shut that factory farm down. So, how many people in here are activists? Let's raise your hand. All right, well, I understand there's a big delegation here from Iowa. Can I hear a shout out in this room from all the Iowans? Boy, I guess there are. But how about people from Missouri? Did anybody come here from Missouri? That was pretty loud, Iowans. I'd like to give you a second chance. Okay, how about Illinois? Anyone here from Minnesota? Kansas. Do I hear Kansas out there? There they are, Kansas. Well, we want to welcome you guys, and a big welcome to people who have traveled from across the nation to be with us here today. Hey, there you go. Iowa ICCI Action has been helping everyday Iowans stand up and speak out for themselves and for their communities. We have helped people fight back against redlining, factory farms, payday lenders, wage theft, and more. And we have helped people fight for clean water, living wages, immigration reform, expanding our Social Security, and much more. In the meantime, our politicians have neglected the heartland. This shows up in our chronic disinvestment in our communities, urban neighborhoods, and small towns, and in the breakdown of the family farm and the rise of corporate and even foreign-owned agriculture. Iowa's ICCI action is committed to justice for all citizens. Justice, fairness, democracy with a small d, and it's all based on love for our fellow citizens. And that's why we are here today for a presidential forum that puts families first. We will let our candidates for president speak to us in a one-on-one conversation about the things that impact everyday people in their everyday lives and how their presidency could bring back small d democracy to our heartland. So, give me a hand in welcoming our moderator for today's event, Mr. Dorian Warren.
Give Barb some love, everybody. So good afternoon. I could have sworn you had more energy a few minutes ago. Good afternoon. Much better. So I'm Dorian Warren. I'm going to be your moderator for today. And on behalf, thank you, on behalf of the Iowa Citizens for Community Improvement Action, Center for Community Change Action, in partnership with The Nation magazine and Make It Work, I want to first thank in advance Governor Martin O'Malley and Senator Bernie Sanders and all of our partner organizations for joining us today. Thank you also in advance to all of our grassroots leaders on stage who are going to be asking the candidates some really hard questions. Give them some love right now. As well as two esteemed journalists, Rekha Basu from the Des Moines Register and George Zernick from The Nation magazine. Now today is another step in changing the national conversation about creating a fairer America that puts families first. Today is another step in advancing the long struggle for racial and economic justice in this country. And we know way too many communities, both rural and urban, that have been devastated by decades of public and private disinvestment and, frankly, systematic violence. Addressing inequality and poverty in a serious way means that we must embrace solutions that match the scale of the problems. It means we have to address and demand our candidates address the dramatic and damaging changes in the American labor market over the last 40 years that creates high levels of unemployment, poverty, harm to our communities. And this is important because despite the so-called good news we've been hearing in the last couple of days about the jobs created in December or the jobs created in 2015, way too many families in our communities are still suffering and still struggling to make ends meet. Despite the good news. That's right, that's not right. Now ultimately, we want to know the candidates' plans for big and bold targeted public investments for the highest unemployment and lowest wage communities across the country. We're going to ask those questions here today. We believe that the most distressed and marginalized communities around the country, and especially here in the Midwest, need systematic and transformational change to be healthy and safe and fair and just and free. Now, our format is simple today. Shortly, I will ask our friend Lori Young from ICCI Action Fund to introduce our first candidate, Governor Martin O'Malley. And Governor O'Malley will have a few minutes to make some opening remarks and lay out his vision for putting families first. And then I'm going to introduce a unique set of grassroots leaders who will share their stories and ask questions of the governor. The governor will have a total of 2 minutes to respond, and as moderator, I will follow up with any questions at my discretion. But before we do that, I just want to pause for a minute and ask you to turn to your left and turn to your right and introduce yourselves to your neighbors. Get to know someone you don't know. Okay. So a couple of rules, and before that, a few people wanted to know who I am and why I get to moderate this event. So I'm Dorian Warren. I'm a fellow at the Roosevelt Institute and chair of the board of the Center for Community Change. And some of you, if you watch MSNBC, might know me from television. So just a couple of quick rules. Please be respectful, especially of our grassroots leaders on stage, but also with your cameras on your phones. We don't need to be blinding folks. Feel free to take some pictures, but please be respectful. Please silence your phones so that rings aren't going off in the midst of our forum. And last but not least, I want you to, again, give these grassroots leaders your love and support for having the courage to share their stories and ask some hard questions of our candidates. So give them some love now and when they come to the microphone. So we're ready to get started. Are you ready? Are you ready, Iowa? To introduce our first presidential candidate, Governor Martin O'Malley, give some love to Des Moines, Iowa's own Lori Young.
Let's see if I know any good jokes. I know some jokes, but they're not appropriate for church. Go ahead and start, I think. All right. Good afternoon. Hi, Terry. Good. This is live, Terry, on the internet. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Lori Young, and I'm with Iowa CCI Action Fund. Let me welcome you again to my hometown and the capital city, Des Moines, Iowa. It's very good to have you here. Look around this space. Look at all the wonderful diversity in the room. We truly are a tapestry of America. As you can see, I am Black and I am female. And in America, those two factors alone have influenced my socioeconomic status and my human experience, sometimes negatively, oftentimes beyond my control. Black Lives Matter. I'm also a single mother who raised two young Black men who today have beaten the odds because, one, they are still alive at age 30 and 24. Thank God. They are fully employed and they have never been incarcerated. But let's face it, that's a little bit of my story, but we all have a story. And today you're going to hear some amazing stories from wonderful everyday people who've overcome great challenges despite our government. You're going to hear stories of survival and self-determination, tragedy and triumph. Pain, but perseverance. We're here today because we know that our issues are interconnected. And these are the real issues that impact our daily lives in our communities. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "We are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I can never be all that I ought to be until you are all that you ought to be. We need a government that puts the people and the planet first. Not a government that destroys our democracy with backroom deals. So what must we do? We must work to dismantle the private prison industry, which profits billions off the backs of millions of black and brown bodies. We must shut down those greedy businesses who make billions in profits but refuse to pay their employees a living wage. We must divest fossil fuel and large corporate agricultural industries who exploit and pollute our land and water for profit. Our families can't survive on a dead planet. So that's the fight that we're in, and together we can do this. And I need you, and you need me. Today we are glad to have with us Governor Martin O'Malley, who is seeking the Democratic nomination for President of these United States. Governor, today you will hear our issues. Governor, today you will learn and appreciate our stories. And most importantly, you'll respond to our questions. And you have about 1 hour to do so. So without further delay, help me welcome to the podium Governor Martin O'Malley.